Hey strangers, welcome to season 2, episode 5 of the Strange Sessions. I am Krista, and with me is
Kurt.
Kurt, how you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Good.
Anything new and exciting in your life?
Spring is upon us, although it's still pretty darn cold.
It is, but every year when it gets to be like this, I'm always like, sweet, winter is done. And then every year there's
a snowstorm.
We're going to be ass deep in snow at some point in the near future because that happens every year.
New York is buried right now, so we should feel pretty lucky.
I know. I feel kind of bad for them.
I don't.
Because we're usually the ones in that predicament.
Yep. It's going to be 50s next week, so.
But we still got a storm coming.
Oh, for sure. April's always that month where you're like, it could be 70, it could be a blizzard, who knows?
Or the morning it could be 15 degrees, and by the afternoon it could be 70 degrees, because that's just how it goes here in Wisconsin.
Welcome to Wisconsin. Housekeeping?
I don't think we have any housekeeping. No. I just want to give a shout out to my brother for being on the last episode. He did a really good job, and a lot of people said that they could tell we were brothers because we talked alike.
Oh, sure.
We didn't necessarily sound alike, but they could tell from our enunciations and the cadence that we were brothers, so I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
But he'll definitely be back at some point, so thank you, Corey. Thank you again for being on the episode.
Thank you, Corey.
Other than that, I don't think we really have any housekeeping.
Nope. We have some actual shout-outs, though, besides that, right?
Yeah. Our two newest members in the Strangers, I want to give a shout-out to Michael Anthony and Angela Bell.
What's up, guys?
Angela, I know in person. She's my friend Nikki's daughter.
And Michael, we don't know.
Which
is always exciting.
It is. We're getting more and more people
that we don't know.
Yeah. And Corey, my brother, told me that he's going to submit our podcast to a Reddit group.
Which neither of us will read.
No, because Krista and I are sensitive, and I don't want to read. I don't want to read the bad things people say about us. So
I don't want to have my feelings hurt.
So Corey, go ahead and do that if you want to monitor that, and
only tell us the good stuff.
Only tell us the good stuff.
And you can totally troll the people saying bad things about us.
Oh yeah, Corey'd be good at that. Corey can troll them.
Nice.
But yeah, other than that, do we really have any shout-outs?
Nope, that's
it. If you've been a long-time listener and we haven't given you a shout-out, let us know.
Shame on us.
Shame on us, because we don't remember from week to week who we've given shout-outs to.
Yeah.
So let us know.
Give us a shout-out. You want a shout-out.
I'm going to open my beverage.
Oh, Kurt's drinking a cold brew
Starbucks
coffee.
cold brew coffee. I have been sleeping really bad lately, so I am super tired. We'll see if this helps.
And it will keep you up all night.
Mm-hmm.
I could explain the sleeping problem.
Yeah, probably drinking a coffee before bed probably is not helping.
Probably not. I'm having, of course, my apple cider vinegar drink, apple cinnamon flavor that Kurt brings me every week.
I haven't had that lately because I think I have a cavity, and when I drink the vinegar stuff, that just kills my tooth. So instead of going to the dentist, I'll just swear off the apple vinegar drinks.
I was going to say, someone needs to visit their dentist.
I'm afraid of dentists.
Well, I don't like them either, but I feel like the less you go, the more problems you have. Yeah. And the worse it is to go then.
Yeah, but it's one thing to say that, another thing to actually do it.
True.
Do we have any news stories we want to discuss?
Not that I can really think of.
No, you guys have been doing a really good job of posting stuff in the Strangers. A lot of news stories. You know, we had the one with the weird voicemail message, but I think that's going to kind of come into play in Krista's story.
Yeah, it's going to tie into what I'm talking about.
So thank you guys for being so active in the Strangers group.
Yeah, we love it.
It is awesome when I wake up in the morning and see like 10 notifications on my phone that people have posted in there. So thank you very much. That means a lot to us.
Yeah.
Hopefully we still have people trickling in every week. Hopefully they like what they see.
Our Heartland Paranormal Investigations group keeps getting likes, even though nobody does anything.
Every day I'm getting notifications that people go look at our Heartland Paranormal Investigations page and like it.
But even though we never post anything.
The last thing we posted there was telling people to come here to the site to listen to the podcast.
Wow.
So I have no idea where people are stumbling across our HPI page.
There's not a link on our Facebook page, is there?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. Weird.
But we need to get back into ghost investigating.
Yeah, totally.
Hopefully with summer coming up. Hopefully this place, the school, will start being a little quiet.
Strangers, if you have a local investigation, the opportunity, let us know.
Or if you're a rich stranger and can fly us to wherever you are where there's an investigation, knock yourself out.
As long as you're not crazy.
If you're half crazy, that's okay. It's not full-on crazy.
Totally
not like Charles
rich,
Manson
but only
crazy.
Half crazy. Yeah. Cool.
And you guys have been doing a good job with the questions with our anonymous question thing, because I checked earlier this week and we had one, and I just checked now to see if I could get access to it here, and we have 8 of them. So
do you want to do that now?
Well, yeah, we'll do one. We're gonna space them out every week. We're gonna do one
because we're afraid we're not gonna get any more.
Yeah, 8 is pretty good. I saw that and I was like,
really
wow.
Good.
So I am going to look at the very first question in the line. So if you guys have asked a question, we will get to it.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out how to do this where I can cover it.
I feel like it would take a whole episode to go through all those questions.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out how I can do it where I can cover them up so I don't see the rest of the questions. So here is today's question. And these are all anonymous, so we have no idea who asked it. The question is... The question is, have the two of you ever hooked up? And if you did, how was it? Hey, what happens in the old school media studio couch stays
in the old school media couch?
The answer to that is no.
No.
I'm sure we've discussed this. Krista is married.
I've been with my husband for 21 years.
And her husband is awesome.
Yeah, he is.
Other than his...
Kurt was at my wedding.
Other than his skepticism.
Oh, yeah, his skepticism for sure.
But yeah, he's totally awesome. And if you've listened to the empath episode, I get a lot of flack for people for being way too open and honest about stuff on the show, but sex kind of freaks me out, so I don't do it. So, no, we have never hooked up.
No.
I think we've hugged.
Oh, yeah, lots
we've
of
hugged,
times.
but that's about it.
We're good friends, that's it.
So, no, the answer to that
chemistry is all friendship, people.
It is. It is, and it drives me nuts
so funny.
It drives me nuts that so many people think that guys and girls can't be friends without stuff getting... So many of my best friends in my life have been girls.
Yeah.
You know, and it's never been a issue.
Yeah.
So, no, we did not hook up.
Funny.
Thank you for asking the question.
Yeah, that was inevitable, I think.
Sorry we didn't have any juicy stories to tell you.
Wah, wah.
Oh, well. So,
thank
you for the question. We will answer another one. Or do you want to do another one now?
Let's do another one, because that was a quick one.
That was a quick one.
That didn't involve a whole lot of explaining.
It was a quickie.
It was a quickie.
Okay, next question. If the Big Bang is real and created the universe, where did the elements come from that caused the Big Bang?
Oh, man.
Wow. I don't know.
Sciencey questions.
I don't know.
I like the first question better. I don't know.
You know, we talked about this in our reality episode that this universe might have just been a parallel universe that, you know, like we talked about last week with John Teeter, where him going back in time created an alternate universe, like a different timeline. Mm-hmm. Some people think that that's what the Big Bang was this timeline starting somehow.
Interesting.
I don't know. I mean, this almost sounds like it could get into the whole, is there a God that
created and who created
universe?
God? That's the question. It reminds me of the question of if God created us, which I don't even know if I believe in, who created God? And the answer is that he's always been there.
Yeah.
Which is really hard to wrap your head around.
My answer to this is I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I feel like...
I'm not smart enough.
I feel like there's something... I don't want to sound cheesy, but I feel like there is something magical about the way we came into...
Oh, absolutely.
We came to exist.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I believe in some kind of force out there. I don't know if you want to call it God or what.
Yeah,
I believe
me too.
there's some kind of force, and I believe that something happened to create the universe that we know.
Yeah, I don't have the answers. I think we need Neil deGrasse Tyson to step in.
I would love for him to be on the show.
And give his theory on that.
You know, the people that think this is a computer simulation think that the Big Bang was basically when we got turned on and
booted.
And booted when we got booted and turned on. Which I still think about from time to time if that's possible.
I try not to.
But I don't know where the elements would have came from that caused the Big Bang. I think some force, something not natural caused it. That's just my opinion.
It's really strange to try to wrap your head around.
It is. It's one of those things that when you start to think about it, you got to kind of stop because you get so freaked out because you feel so insignificant and you know, in the face of this huge thing. Yeah,
either way, it's whether you're talking religious or science, what created the thing that created everything?
I wish that there might even be a belief system that groups that like is a combination of science and religion. I like that idea. I think that's kind of cool.
Not Scientology though.
No. Well, I don't know. They have some good points. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
They're nuttier than squirrel poop.
I apologize to any Scientologists. Oh God, we're gonna get they can get really nasty if you naysay Scientology.
I'm pretty sure we're not on their radar.
Probably not. Tom Cruise isn't listening to this?
No. He might sit in as a guest host one week, and
I'm not a fan, to be honest with you.
Scientology is just goofy.
It is very goofy.
But I am scared to do an episode on that because they will make your life hell. So thank you for the questions. We have 6 more now, so if you guys want to ask any more.
Those were good questions.
Yeah.
Fair.
And, the 2 questions both involve banging, which is kind of cool. So we'll move on now to our taste test.
Oh, I'm ready.
And this one is going to be okay.
Yeah,
this
Kurt
is not going to be.
It's a not gross
This is a
test.
not gross one. At least I don't think it's
before.
gross. And I feel like you might have possibly tried it already.
Okay, we'll see.
So we're going to see. I was with Corey when I got this. Corey says it's good.
Okay. He did say the pickle candy was good, and the pickle candy was good.
For today, we have Jones Soda. I know you've had Jones Soda.
Yeah.
The peanut butter and jelly soda.
I've never had this.
Okay, good.
Ooh, I love peanut butter.
I love Jones Soda.
Okay.
I'm
excited about this.
Go on a little tangent here about the Jones Soda that they had.
Are you jonesing for some Jones?
That they had a couple years in a row, and I don't even know if they still do it. They had the really gross holiday editions.
Oh.
Did you know that?
No, like they were supposed to be gross?
Yeah, they were supposed to be gross.
Okay.
I have 2 of them at home. I have 2. Corey bought them for me.
Can I take a picture before you pour it?
Corey bought them for me. One night we went to our friend Gary's house. It was me, Corey, our friend Aaron, and a couple other people, and Gary and his wife. And we opened up I think it was like 1994, 1995. They had a Thanksgiving edition where
turkey or something.
The 5 sodas in it were turkey and gravy.
Oh my God.
Cranberry sauce.
I would like that.
Pumpkin pie.
I could maybe handle that.
Wild rice and herb stuffing.
Oh, no.
And Brussels sprout.
No.
And we did kind of like we do here on the podcast where we all poured a little in a cup and drank it.
Okay.
And I will, to this day, say that the Brussels sprout Jones Soda was the worst thing I have ever drank in my life.
Really?
It was just horrible. Everybody that's tried it.
Interesting because Brussels sprouts are like mini cabbages. And cabbage is like the main thing in sauerkraut, and you love
it. It was
sauerkraut.
Brussels sprout and prosciutto.
Oh, which is like
a ham.
It's
like
ham,
yeah. So it was that, and it was just so. It made these nasty ass jelly beans taste like vanilla. I mean, it was that
better
bad.
than a punch in the face with a dead fish.
And the weird thing was that you would think the pumpkin pie or the cranberry sauce one would have been good, and they weren't. The best one out of the bunch was the turkey and gravy.
Really?
And it tasted like you were drinking cold carbonated gravy.
Blech.
But they were just horrible. Aaron, actually, when he left, he went out to the bar that night. Before he got to the bar, he threw up. And he said it was weird because it tasted just like a Thanksgiving meal coming up.
Gross.
But the Brussels sprout, that is the worst. The wild rice and herb stuffing was a close second. We were trying to describe what it tasted like, and then somebody in our little group finally said it tasted like Excedrin dissolved in dirty, soapy dishwater. And that is exactly what it tasted like.
So gross.
It was horrible. And then, but the year after that, one of the ones they had was salmon pate. So I am glad we didn't try that one.
Yeah,
because I guess that one was just as bad as a Brussels sprout. I think they still do it.
Or
I think
our
they still
pressed salmon bar we had a few episodes ago.
That was horrible. So we are going to try the Jones cane sugar soda, peanut butter and jelly.
I'm pumped about this.
I am too. Like I wanted to give us a little treat from.
Thank you.
Nothing we've tried has really been horrible. Even the fish
that was horrible.
It was bad, but I wouldn't say it was horrible.
Well, and so was the dead fish Jelly Belly.
That was bad.
I love that the picture on the bottle is someone feeding a peanut butter and jelly sandwich to a cow.
The Jones Soda labels are actually super cool that you can send in your photos and they will make you they will make you like a 6-pack with your photo.
Oh, that's cool. Where do you get this?
We got this at a store in Green Bay. But Target usually has them. Oh. I've seen them all around Manitowoc. Walmart has them. They have.
Oh, okay.
They have the cream one. They have one called Foo Berry.
Okay.
That's actually really good. So here we go. We're gonna try this.
I'm excited. I love peanut butter. It's weird because it looks like grape. Is it grape jelly? I could do the sniff test first. I'm not a big soda drinker. I don't like carbonation. Oh, it smells like peanut butter and jelly. It smells like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Oh, it does. It smells just like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
So weird. Okay, you ready?
You ready? Okay. Go.
I get much more jelly than peanut butter.
I do get a little bit of peanut butter.
It's there a little bit.
It's actually pretty good.
It's good.
It tastes like grape soda with a little bit of peanutty flavor in it.
You're not allergic to peanuts, are you?
Pecans, Brazil nuts, and hazelnuts, but
Okay.
not peanuts.
Well, it's the
It is
peanut
really-
butter's in the aftertaste.
Yeah, this is actually really good.
It is very good. I wonder how many points this is.
Oh, that's right. Krista's on Weight Watchers now.
That's really good. I bet my husband would like that.
That is really good. Like you said, you get the peanut butter like as an
It's at the
aftertaste
end.
almost.
Interesting.
Wow. Okay, scale of 1 to 10.
10.
Seriously? Mm-hmm. I'm going to give it a 10.
I don't really like
No,
soda.
I'm going to give it a 9 because something would have to be like ungodly good for me to give it a 10.
Okay.
I'm going to give this a 9 because I think this is
I'll go with
really,
a 9
really
too.
good.
I'll go with a 9 too.
I kind of want to buy this again.
Because there's like root beer that I love. I love root beer, and I would put the root beer above that.
A&W root beer I think is still the best. I love A&W root beer. That's our heater kicking in.
Yep.
That was really good.
I'm going to be sipping mine through the show.
I kind of wish I had more.
I'm not sick. Do you want mine?
You can finish it if you want.
I won't.
Okay.
There, we just hooked up. We shared a
We
soda.
just, yeah, Krista and I are sharing soda, so that's a first step. Okay.
Is it? Okay.
I don't know.
I don't
God,
remember.
I really
it's
like
been
that
a
soda.
long time. I don't remember what the first step is anymore.
I might give that a 10. I really do like it.
It's good. It
I
makes
like-
me
I
really
like-
want peanut butter.
Yeah, I like that the peanut butter taste is like there at the end, and it's not like overwhelmingly peanutty.
It'd be weird if it were, I think.
I wonder if that's Jiffy peanut butter in there.
I bet it is.
I bet it is too. Mandela effect callback.
You got an itchy nose there, buddy?
Yeah, I think I got like carbonation bubbles on my nose.
Ah.
So the story for today's episode is that we were going to do an episode called My Favorite Murder, which was going to be
A
our
rip-off of
version.
the...
I was going to say it was going to be an homage. It was not
okay.
going to be a rip-off.
Sure.
It was going to be a rip-off of the podcast My Favorite Murder, which we both enjoy.
Yeah.
But then after we kind of yanked the paranormal stuff away from our sister podcast, Paranormal Palaver, they are going to start doing a true crime podcast,
Called the True Crime Crew.
which I'm super excited about because,
we just need to get started.
get started because I want
The
to
only
listen to
thing
it.
delaying us is we don't have music. So Joe and I, he's on Paranormal Palaver as well. We also host a podcast for work called Off the Clock. It's really good. It's available on all your podcasting apps. Check it out. But yeah, we need to compose some music, and once we have the music for the podcast, we will get going. Because it's like true crime. The topics never stop. It's not like we're gonna run out of stuff to talk about, so we could start right away. And I have, a long list of topics I want to cover right away.
Yeah, I mean, I want to listen to it because I'm fascinated by that stuff too.
Yeah.
So instead of doing a My Favorite Murder episode, Krista and I are doing a My Favorite Mini Mystery, where we each pick a topic that we don't think you could really do a whole episode about, but that we're still fascinated with.
Mine you probably could, but
Mine, you could
condense
drag it out, but
You could drag any topic out.
Yeah.
But should you? I don't know.
so Krista and I are each going to do a story. I don't know what Krista's doing. Krista knows what I'm doing, but she knows nothing
I don't
about the
know anything
story
about
that
it,
I'm
yeah.
doing.
Kurt will recognize this and probably know a little bit about it.
Hopefully.
Oh, you will for sure.
Okay,
Everybody, I
so
think everybody
Krista's
does.
going to do her story first,
Yeah.
and then after hers, I will do my story.
So should I get started? Is that my cue?
That is your cue.
So
just so you know, I'm moving the soda up to a 10 because
Are
I
you?
really like this.
You really like
Yes.
it? It is
I really
good.
like this, so I moved it up to a 10.
I'm sticking with my 9.
Wow.
I gave it a 10 at first, but
I talked you out of it, and now I talked myself
Right.
into it.
It's funny.
We just can't
We
decide.
did a flip-flop. Okay, are you ready?
Ready.
My topic for today is Malaysia Airlines Flight 370.
Ooh.
I have been fascinated by this topic because I realize, okay, if you don't know, this is an airline that was flying from Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia to Beijing, and it just disappeared with 239 people on board, and it's never been found. And I realize that in the grand scheme of things, planes crash, and there are other planes that have gone missing, but I just can't wrap my head around how a huge airliner carrying, close to 250 people just goes missing, never to be seen again.
Didn't they find traces of it in the ocean or no?
Some parts,
But not
not the plane.
the main.
So I have a timeline of what happened. So this should go pretty quickly. It's like, minute by minute.
Is this better than the Maura Murray timeline?
I hope so. I got it from CNN. I feel like CNN's probably a reputable source for the timeline. And actually, I double-checked a few different websites, and they all had relatively the same timeline. So this happened on March 8th, 2014. At 12:41 a.m., the plane takes off from Kuala Lumpur, and everything's working. It's a Boeing 777-200ER, whatever that means. It's the Malaysian capital is where it's leaving, and it's headed for Beijing. The Aircraft Communications Addressing and Reporting System, also called ACARS, I think. ACARS. It's referenced several times, so if I say ACARS, that's what I'm talking about. One of the plane's communication systems sends what turns out to be its last transmission, according to Malaysia Airlines CEO Ahmad Jahari Yahya. I'm doing my best here, people.
Close enough.
It showed nothing unusual. The 1:07 a.m. transmission showed a normal routing all the way to Beijing, according to a statement from Malaysia's Ministry of Transport. Kurt's loving that stuff.
I really do like Krista just saw me having a soda-gasm over here.
He was having a moment. So this aircraft communications addressing and reporting system, it's an onboard computer that collects information, and a lot of information about aircraft and pilot performance. It's akin to computers and automobiles that track oil levels and engine performance. It measures thousands of data points, blah, blah, blah. So this thing is really invaluable for figuring out what's happening at any given moment. So at 1:19 a.m., so they took off at 12:41. It sent out this communication at 1:07 a.m. 1:19, there's a voice check-in. Someone from the cockpit makes a voice check-in with air traffic controllers as the plane is leaving Malaysian airspace and entering Vietnamese airspace. Initial investigations indicate it was the co-pilot, Farik Abdul Hamid, according to Malaysia Airlines officials. What his final words were, "All right, good night." And apparently good night is a phrase that airline pilots use when they're handing over communication from one airspace to another. It's like a common phrase that they use.
I didn't know that.
He said this guy that they're talking to, Quest, his last name is Quest. Richard Quest. He's a CNN aviation and airline correspondent. It's normal. It happens a gazillion times. All right, good night is a pleasantry at the end of radio communication. So that happened at 1:19. At 1:21 a.m., the plane's transponder stops communicating. And this is something that sounds like a squawk to radar systems about the flight number, altitude, speed, and heading. So it's really useful to air traffic controllers. At 1:22 a.m., the plane disappears from Thai military radar. The military's radar is tracking the plane's signal, but it disappears at 1:22 a.m. And that at 1:28 a.m., the radar picks up an unknown aircraft, which is kind of strange. It's flying in a direction opposite to what Flight 370 had been traveling. And this could explain it. From 1:21 a.m. to 1:28 a.m., the plane appears to change course. So it's literally heading on one heading and then almost does like a hairpin turn and starts going in a completely different direction. The Malaysian government has not said when or if the plane was reprogrammed to fly off course or if it was done manually.
Why wouldn't they say?
They don't know.
Oh.
I don't think they're able to tell that.
Oh.
Because the ACARS at 1:07 a.m. had indicated that the routing was programmed all the way to Beijing. So it almost seems like it would have to have been like a
manually turn
intervention or something. Around 1:30 a.m., civilian radar loses contact with the plane. At this point, it's over the Gulf of Thailand between Malaysia and Vietnam. And it gives coordinates, but... So that was 1:30 a.m. At 1:37, they're expecting another ACARS transmission, but it doesn't happen. It was supposed to transmit a half hour after the last one, and obviously it didn't happen, and it stopped communicating sometime between 1:07 and 1:37 a.m. It's a significant event. Turning off this system takes know-how. You can't just flip a button.
No, it's not just an on-off switch.
Yeah, that's something that's pretty complicated. If the flight were hijacked or a target of terrorism, cutting it off would be strategic because the system reports to satellites anything being done to the aircraft, not just where you are, but what's happening inside the aircraft too. At 2:15 a.m., even though the plane's not transmitting information by ACARS or a transponder, radar on the ground or elsewhere can still detect a plane in the air. And according to a Malaysian Air Force official, military radar tracked the plane as it passed over the small island of Pulau Perak in the Strait of Malacca.
Wow.
You might want to Google that because
Yeah.
I'm not even sure if I said it right. At this point, the plane was hundreds of miles off course. In fact, it was on the other side of the Malay Peninsula. Military radar showed that it flew in a westerly direction back over the Malay Peninsula, and that was the last time any civilian or military radar is known to have tracked the aircraft. So at that point, the focus turned to searching for the flight in the southern Indian Ocean, because I guess that was more plausible, the direction it was heading. The Malaysian military handed over its raw radar data to U.S. and British officials, apparently setting aside concerns about any sensitive military intelligence, which is interesting. Mm-hmm. Quest, the CNN reporter, called that a huge development in the case. They don't want anyone to know how good their radar is, so the fact that they handed that over was kind of saying a lot.
Yeah.
At 2:40 a.m., Malaysian Airlines actually says it just learned the plane is missing from radar. Malaysian air traffic controllers told Malaysia Airlines that it was missing from radar. This is funny. It gives you like a headline and then it repeats it. I apologize. From 2:40 to 3:45 a.m., the airline sourced every communication that it possibly could to try to find the whereabouts of the plane before declaring that it had lost contact. At 3:45 a.m., they issued a code red alert that the plane was missing from radar. At 6:30, so this is quite a jump. This is when the plane should have arrived in Beijing. And so there are people waiting there for their family members. Have you seen any of the photos of that?
Yeah, no, I haven't.
Oh, it's really
I
sad.
kind of don't want to.
When they find out that they don't know where the plane is. It's crazy.
There's nothing worse than that.
So it says that they tried to do what's called satellite handshakes, quote unquote handshakes, at 8:11 a.m. The satellite tracked a plane. It said tracked the plane at 8:11 a.m., more than 7 hours after takeoff. Details on the satellite tracking weren't provided, but it appears that the orbiters high above the ocean detected the plane as the satellite or satellites attempted a series of handshakes or what they call electronic connections. But the plane didn't complete the handshake because its communication systems were disabled, either, manually or by whatever happened to it.
The whole tech aspect of this just kind of amazes me because I don't think about all the stuff that goes on behind the scenes when it comes to that stuff.
Especially in this day and age.
Yeah.
I don't think it was like this back in the day,
No.
like in the 60s, but it's crazy.
It's crazy how much is out there keeping track of you,
Right.
It's impressive.
So even though it didn't complete the handshake, the raw satellite data confirmed that it was MH370. But they were unable to confirm the precise location of the plane when it last made contact with the satellite, which kind of makes it a little bit useless, if you ask me. Yeah. Is it underwater at that point? Is it crashed somewhere?
Yeah.
So this is so that's basically what happened. The gist of it is that it made an abrupt turn. It stopped making contact. It went off radar, and it seemed like they were able to pick it up occasionally on various radars and satellites, but it wasn't communicating anymore. So there have been some confirmed pieces found. A wing flap was found in Tanzania in June. So this happened in March. It's confirmed to have been part of the plane. A plane wing fragment found in Mauritius. These, of course, all have to be names I don't know how to pronounce. A flaperon found in Reunion Island in July. Australian officials have confirmed that it was part of the jetliner, and it's the first trace of the plane since it vanished. Numbers inside of it match. I think that's what they're doing. They find serial numbers or part numbers or whatever that match. Yeah. And then there's a list of highly likely parts that they haven't been able to confirm 100%. A cabin interior panel, an engine cowling, whatever that is, main cabin interior panel, horizontal stabilizer, blah, blah, blah. And then there's other pieces that are just sort of speculated to have been part of but nothing's been confirmed. So this is really it. I mean, the plane went missing. They found a few pieces of it, but not enough to even confirm what happened. I mean, I think you could assume that I remember hearing
so many weird.
Yeah, I have a list of theories.
Okay. my thing is that to me, it always seemed like after it made that sudden turn, it would have nosedived into the ocean.
And it didn't. It continued to fly for several hours. Because the way the satellites were picking it up, it was several hours off course. Off course at that point.
I might leave that in.
Which is just so crazy, you know? Like, what's going on? It makes you think, what were the passengers doing at that time? What were they thinking? Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, I don't like to think about that stuff.
I mean, planes crash. But this is a really weird situation, what happened here. So just a few days ago, this week, an Austrian mechanical engineer who claims to have worked in crash investigations for more than 25 years insists that he found images of the wreckage on Google Earth riddled with bullet holes.
Wow.
He had been poring through Google Earth images and images available through NASA. I guess they must have satellite images that you can look through. He believes the aircraft is located 10 miles south of Round Island, which is north of that Mauritius, which is one of the places that I think a confirmed piece of the plane was found. However, official investigators claim the photos that the guy provided were taken years before the flight actually went missing.
Jeez.
More specifically, one of the photos was from November 6th of 2009, which is 4 years before the plane ever went missing.
I was going to say, do they think that the plane that showed up like near it or something did something to it?
I don't know if they think there was another craft or if they were just picking up the fact that the plane had completely changed course.
Yeah, that's true.
Because it was heading in the opposite direction. So, of course, here are the theories. And I've heard this first one, that one of the pilots decided to commit suicide.
Yeah, with everybody else.
Right. Murder-suicide is what you call it.
That's not really suicide when you take how many people with you.
Terrorism or hijacking, of course. Remote or cyber hijacking. I remember that was on the news quite a bit, that, you know, we have planes that are basically run by computers.
But if you hijack something, are you going to hijack it that far out over...
And what would be the point?
Yeah.
Yeah, usually hijacking, the point of it is to cause some kind of mass casualty, like 9/11, or for money, or you're going to land it somewhere.
Yeah.
And the weird thing is we don't know what happened to the plane. It never landed anywhere that we can think of. Or that we know of. I remember, it's not on my list, but I remember hearing that, was it Russia? There was an island that belongs to Russia that satellite images showed that an airstrip had been constructed and then deconstructed right around that time.
Really?
Yeah. I think it was Russia.
Why would Russia take the plane? I mean,
Well, it's funny because one of the things on here says that Vladimir Putin didn't do it, but he knows where it is.
Oh, really?
Due to secret spy satellites that he has. But he doesn't want to tell anybody that he knows, because then we know about his secret spy, satellites.
Mm-hmm.
A meteor took the plane out, which doesn't really explain why it would switch courses like that.
Yeah.
It's North Korea shot it down, of course. It's on the moon. That was one of the theories I saw.
Really?
Yep. Aliens. Of course, aliens. Ancient aliens.
Ooh.
Not just aliens.
Ancient aliens.
The U.S. military shot it down. And I have two slightly longer theories. So they had a lot of volunteer investigators who were working on this. And this one investigator, Andre Milne, said that the plane's official manifest says that 239 people went missing. There were officially 226 passengers on the flight. 4 of them failed to board, and another 12 crew, which makes a total of 238. So there's like an unaccounted person, they're saying, on the plane. But a spokesperson for the investigation team said, we're aware of this discrepancy. The actual number of passengers on board is 227. and last minute changes to flights can explain that. I mean, people cancel, they'll let
that's
seats open up, whatever.
I don't see that as being really shocking.
So this theory is the least mysterious and probably it sounded really likely to me. And this person that I got the theory from, Chris Goodfellow, has 20 years experience as a Canadian Class 1 instrumented rated pilot for multi-engine planes. And he said a fire seems like the most logical explanation. He said, in the case of a fire, the first response is to pull the main buses and restore circuits one by one until you have isolated the bad one. If they pulled the buses, the plane would go silent. So there'd be no communication. It probably was a serious event and the flight crew was occupied with controlling the plane and trying to fight the fire. Aviate, navigate, and lastly, communicate is the mantra in such situations. So what he thinks happened is that the flight crew was overcome by smoke and the plane just continued on the heading after it switched.
What about the passengers?
Directions. Well, everybody probably would have been overcome by smoke if there was a fire. And it went on autopilot and ran until it ran out of fuel or the fire destroyed it and it crashed.
That is a pretty likely.
I mean, it seems like the least, nefarious of all of the explanations.
Yeah. To me, it almost seems like the most likely.
If there was some kind of electrical problem or whatever and everyone was overcome with smoke.
But don't you think that they would have tried to...
It could even explain why the flight changed courses.
Yeah.
Because it had just left Malaysia. It wasn't too far out
when it changed. But I don't think
that
the flight crew would have been knocked out so quick that they couldn't have made some kind of radio call, Mayday radio call.
Well, unless the circuitry that
True.
he was talking about, they went silent.
True.
And he said that actually using oxygen masks in a fire is a bad idea.
Yeah, it is.
So how would you stay safe from the smoke? There'd be no escape from it on a plane. Do you remember when people used to be able to smoke cigarettes on a plane?
No.
I mean, I obviously have never been. You could smoke cigarettes on an airplane. That's insane. In hospitals, you could smoke in hospitals. Okay, now we're getting off course here, but so those are just some of the kooky, explanations. Fire to be the least kooky of that. But this ties in now to something that Nicole posted on The Strangers.
Yes.
So this voicemail. So this guy on Twitter named Ty, and his handle is Strayed Away on Twitter. He was the first person. I guess more than one person has gotten these voicemails. But he received a weird, mysterious voicemail on his smartphone of what sounds like a robotic, sort of like an automated female voice.
Yeah.
Like, if you have automated voicemail, it's that woman who says, so-and-so is not available. It's that voice.
Yeah.
But she's reading off some kind of like military code.
It's like the phonetic alphabet where it's like alpha, alpha.
Which is what police
Charlie
officers
Tango.
do when they're reading license plates or whatever. So when you take this code and write it down, it actually spells a message. And the message is danger, SOS. It is dire for you to evacuate. Be cautious. They are not human. SOS, danger, SOS. And apparently the number sequence that's in the voicemail appears to be a set of coordinates. When plugged into Google Maps, led to a location in Africa and another near Malaysia.
Wow.
Yeah. Apparently very close to where MH370 vanished from radar.
That's interesting.
So some are speculating that the voicemail was a recording of the plane's encounter with an alien aircraft, which to me seems... I don't know if that's what happened, but it's an interesting coincidence, I guess. And I feel like this topic of these voicemails, we could do a whole show on this because I started going down that rabbit hole.
Yep.
This guy who originally posted it, he's starting to receive, if this isn't a hoax, like other coded messages, like Morse code and messages telling him to take down the post about the voicemails and like all this weird stuff. And he said he saw someone at 3 a.m. in the morning taking pictures of his house, like with a camera with a flash.
Really?
Yeah. So I feel like this is a rabbit hole we could go down with a whole new episode.
Better him than me because I don't like phone things. Phones. There's things about phones that creep me out. I don't like phone.
We could do a whole episode.
We could do a whole. There was that family where they were supposedly getting text messages. Did you ever see that story? Maybe we'll save that. We'll do an episode about phone stuff.
So that's my mini mystery. It's interesting because it's actually pretty recent.
There's a lot of people
Can't
that are
wrap my
really
head
still
around it.
fascinated by that too, trying to figure out what happened.
Well, there's 239 people missing. That's crazy.
I just never felt like it was missing. I think it just went into the ocean and they can't find it because the ocean's pretty big.
It's very vast.
Yeah.
It's very vast. What's really strange about it to me is the fact that it just switched directions like that and flew for hours without making any kind of contact. So that's why it makes me think something strange or suspicious was going on.
And then, like you said, you
Terrorists,
wonder what the people on the plane were experiencing or thinking at the time. That always just kind of creeps me out.
What's odd is, I suppose you wouldn't have any kind of cell phone reception.
No.
Because in 9/11, people on those planes were texting and leaving voicemails for their loved ones.
I don't get cell phone reception here where we are, much less out in the middle of the ocean.
We have Wi-Fi, though.
We do.
So that's mine.
Cool. Very good. I didn't know you were going to do that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's fascinating. I mean, there's still stuff that pops up in the news all the time from that.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that there's some closure for that they find out what
too.
happened. I'm assuming if they find...
They're going to find it eventually.
At this point, though, what's going to be left? It's been how long?
Well, if it's underwater...
If they find burned bodies...
Bones. I think at this point they'd be bones. It's 4 years ago.
So I don't know. Very cool.
Maybe it's a lost situation. They're on an island
kind of
somewhere.
What I was thinking of.
Yeah.
The phone message kind of reminds me of Lost, where they had the numbers, the lost numbers going, but then it reminds me of the number stations too. And if you don't know what number stations are,
that's really cool.
Yeah, look up number stations on YouTube and you can hear recordings of actual number stations. Really creep me out.
It had to do with spies and stuff, right?
Yeah, it has to do with spies. I mean, it's spying. They do it on the show The Americans that I love. That's how they contact the Russian spies here is through the number stations.
I watched a movie on that. I think it was called The Number Station. It was really good.
But those have always really fascinated me. So, my story that I chose, some of you probably don't know about this, but I'm guessing some of you do. And I'm thinking the ones that do will probably realize in the first sentence where I am going with this. So here's my story.
All right.
On February 6th, 2000, a new entry appeared on the website coinop.org, which was an online database of arcade games. The new entry was for an arcade game called Polybius, named after the ancient Greek historian. And according to the entry, the game was created in 1981. Here's the original Polybius entry. So I'm going to obviously be doing the Legend of Polybius.
All right.
So this was the entry that appeared on the website, which was the database of arcade games. Polybius. This game had a very limited release, 1 or 2 backwater arcades in a suburb of Portland. The history of this game is cloudy. There were all kinds of strange stories about how kids who played it got amnesia afterwards, couldn't remember their names or where they lived, etc. The bizarre rumors about this game are that it was supposedly developed by some kind of weird military tech offshoot group, used some kind of proprietary behavior modification algorithms developed for the CIA, and kids who played it woke up at night screaming, having horrible nightmares.
Okay, this reminds me right away of the experiments the military did on kids.
Yeah.
What was that called? There's a specific
MK
name.
Ultra?
Yes, MK Ultra. Thank you.
We're going to have an episode on MK
Ultra.
Okay,
we definitely have to.
And this is still from the entry. According to an operator who ran an arcade with one of these games, guys in black coats would come to collect records from the machines. They weren't interested in quarters or anything. They just collected information about how the game was played.
That's weird.
The game was weird looking, kind of abstract, fast action with some puzzle elements. The kids who played it stopped playing games entirely, and one of them went on to become a big anti-video game crusader or something.
Really?
We've contacted one person who met him, and he claims the machines disappeared after a month or so, and no one ever heard about them again. Until the ROM showed up. And a ROM is like the computer code for a game. Like if you have an emulator...
Oh, okay.
They're illegal, kind of. So I'm not saying that I have on my Strange Sessions computer a Super Nintendo or Nintendo emulator and ROMs, but I'm not saying I don't have it. So that's what ROMs are. It's basically the computer code of the game that if you have an emulator and you get the ROM, you can play the game, the original game on your computer. So that's what the ROM is.
Okay. That's very techy.
And then he said, until the ROM showed up. Here's what we found so far in the ROM. We found English strings, quote, insert coin, unquote, and, quote, press 1 player start, end quote. It looks like a 1 or 2 player game. The text in the game says copyright 1981, and I'm going to massacre this word because I can't speak German, Sinneschlossen, And then he wrote, maybe a German company. And then it says, if anyone has heard any additional information about this game, we'd appreciate hearing about it.
Oh, okay.
And at the time, people looked into it, and Sinneschlossen, which was the name of the company, is poorly translated German for the phrase senses deleted.
Well, that's creepy.
Yeah. So that was 2000. Then, in September 2003, in an issue of GamePro magazine, which I used to read all the time,
Okay.
Polybius showed up as part of a feature story on video games called Secrets and Lies. This was the first known printed mention of the game, exposing the Polybius legend to a huge audience. The article declared the existence of the game to be inconclusive. After the GamePro story, posts began to periodically appear where people mentioned seeing the game or playing the game. People who claimed to have played the game reported having nightmares, temporary amnesia, seizures, severe depression, bouts of missing time, and often believed that they were being followed and monitored on a daily basis after playing the game. There are even rumors of a possible suicide after someone played Polybius.
Okay, do these people know about the side effects going into it?
I don't think so. The game itself is said to have first appeared at the Malibu Grand Prix arcade between 1979 and 1981 in Portland, Oregon.
Okay.
Then, in 2006, someone named Stephen Roach posted a long, rambling post in the coinop.org forums. I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's long. These are some of the things he said. I think it's about time I laid this to rest, however entertaining the speculation. My name is Stephen Roach. I'm primarily based in the Czech Republic. And now remember this, he's in the Czech Republic because this is important. Sinneschlossen was a company set up by myself and several other mainly amateur programmers in 1978. We were approached around 1980 by a Southern American company that shall remain nameless for legal purposes to develop an idea they had for producing an arcade game with a puzzle element that centered around a new approach to video game graphics. Marek Vasuchek was the programmer who came up with the name Polybius. He had studied Greek mythology and came up with the name because it sounded bold and mysterious, which is what we wanted. We received heartening playtesting figures and were then told that the game would receive a temporary limited release, but shortly after that we received terrible news. A 13-year-old boy from Portland, Oregon had suffered an epileptic fit while playing the game only 6 days after the machines had been installed. Every effort was made to withdraw the game from the arcades as quickly as possible, but the scaremongering was already out in force and a lot of the children were lining up or daring their friends to play this supposedly nightmarish game.
So that doesn't surprise me, actually. No. Seizures, because flashing lights can cause seizures.
Company directors descended on the town to assess the situation, which may account for the reports of strange men in black suits hanging around. We disbanded Sinneschlossen shortly afterwards.
So this guy is claiming to have been part of the team that created the game in the first place. Okay.
As the years went on, the legend of Polybius grew and continues to grow to this day. There is a new podcast that just came out recently that weaves the Polybius legend into a fictional story.
That's cool.
And the game has become sort of an in-joke, appearing in the background of arcade scenes in several movies and shows, including The Simpsons, Wreck-It Ralph, the sitcom The Goldbergs, and several other sitcoms and movies.
Really?
Yeah, there's a picture online where you can see Bart Simpson's in an arcade and he's playing a game, and right next to it is Polybius.
That's strange.
And then it says like property of the U.S. government or something on it.
Huh.
So that's the basic gist of Polybius, is that there was this game that was
like a mind
controlling game.
Wow. That's an interesting theory.
It is.
You know, and I could actually.
But there are people that swear to God that they played this game and it affected them.
Huh.
So there's two theories. As usual, the two theories. The first theory, it's real.
Sure.
Maybe. Possibly.
I don't think it's all that far-fetched.
I don't either. You know, there was that thing with the Pokemon cartoon where kids in Japan had epileptic seizures because Pikachu was flashing.
Yeah.
But Stephen Roach, who claimed to be one of the designers of the game, may be the same Stephen Roach who had been the security director of a notorious, quote, behavioral modification center, unquote, for teens called Sunrise Beach in Baja, Mexico, and at a second facility in the Czech Republic, which is where he claimed to be from.
Sure.
The umbrella organization that Roach worked for ran reform centers around the world where the techniques used to reform children and teenagers included starvation, beatings, being tied or chained to beds, being forced to eat vomit, lay in urine, blood, and feces, and in most cases, rape and molestation.
It sounds like a normal early 1900s mental institution.
Yeah. Stephen Roach and his wife, Glenda, were arrested in May of 1996 while running a facility called Sunrise Beach. After 3 teenage girls escaped from the institution, banging down the doors of a nearby police station and complaining of abuse, an inspector visited the facility and found the facility to be more like a prison or torture system than a reform center. After being released, Roach went back to the Czech Republic in 1998. Roach again started his character modification just as he had in Mexico for those who did not conform to the program's brainwashing techniques. Children were once again subjected to isolation, starvation, physical torture, and humiliating abuse.
Wow.
He was arrested in November 1998 along with his wife and was charged with a variety of offenses, including child torture.
Jeez.
People theorize that Polybius was something that Roach may have been working on to brainwash or somehow modify problem children, and the test run of Polybius in arcades led to disastrous results.
Jeez.
So but people don't know if, because the guy that wrote the Stephen Roach that wrote that long rambling thing apparently screwed some stuff up. I guess he spelled his name wrong once in there.
Oh, really?
But then people are saying...
couldn't that just be a typo?
Yeah, people are saying that maybe he found out this Stephen Roach guy that was into all this behavioral modification stuff. But, I don't know. But the thing is...
When was this?
The Polybius?
No, the Stephen Roach. When was he writing the comments about how he was part of that company?
That was in 2006. But in the late 70s, when he said that Sinneschlossen was around or whatever, that video games had just started appearing. So I could see if he really wanted to monitor, to reform kids, that maybe he was looking into a way to use subliminal messages or flashing signals or something to basically brainwash the kids. And the people that think that this is real think that that's probably what happened, is that he created this video game and it messed these kids up, whatever was in the game, whether it's subliminal messages or some sort of pattern of flashing lights,
right,
or something like that. And theory number 2, it didn't happen. One of the explanations is, of course, that it's a hoax. Someone made up a story, posted it on coinop.org, and the story took on a life of its own from there.
Kind of like John Teeter.
Which is amazing if you think about it, that you can go on some site and you can just type something in 5 minutes and then people will still be talking about it 20 years from the day.
Slenderman. I keep going back to Slenderman.
To me, I want to believe that this existed. The most likely explanation of this is that it's a combination of a bunch of different things that happened around that time. In a Portland arcade in 1981, a player named Michael Lopez collapsed with a migraine headache after playing the video game Tempest, which was the game that Polybius was said to be similar to, and it gave him a migraine headache and he collapsed. On the same day, 12-year-old Brian Morrow suffered from stomach pain and collapsed after playing Asteroids for 28 hours in an attempt to break a world record.
I feel like that's just, exhaustion at that point.
It is.
I haven't eaten.
It said that he was drinking nothing but soda and eating nothing but candy bars.
28 hours?
For 28 hours.
That's insane.
So in that Portland arcade on the same day, 2 people basically collapsed.
Well, think of how kids talk. Suddenly, 2 really sort of mundane things turn into legend.
Yep. Just 10 days later, the FBI raided several arcades in the Portland area where the owners were suspected of either dealing drugs or using the machines for gambling. The raid involved FBI agents opening and checking arcade cabinets for signs of tampering and also recording high scores, which would account for
them opening
the rumors of the men in black or whatever coming and looking at the machines.
And not caring about the money.
Yeah. Also during that 2-week period at an arcade in Illinois, 18-year-old competitive gamer Jeff Daly was attempting to set a world record playing the video game Berserk when he died of a heart attack while playing the game.
Oh my gosh. That's not funny.
No, I remember Berserk. I used to like Berserk. That's the one that had I just remember it had this bouncing, smiling ball that would come out, and it was called Evil Otto, and if it hit you, it would kill you. And then in 1980, the game Battlezone appeared in arcades, and I actually played this one.
Okay.
It was one of the very first, if not first-person shooter, and it had what was called vector graphics, which, if you think of video games in an arcade from the early 80s, it had just like the straight line.
Yeah.
It was usually bright red or bright green, and everything was made up of these straight lines. And that's basically what Polybius was said to be like, and Tempest was the same way. The game Battlezone appeared in arcades in 1980. It was one of the first-person shooters. The Army commissioned the creators of the game to create a similar game called the Bradley Trainer for soldiers to use as targeting training for gunners on the Bradley fighting vehicle. So there's all this stuff that happened kind of all at once, and a lot of people think that the Polybius story grew from all these different things.
Yeah, that sounds logical.
So my favorite theory is I think it's that last one, that it was a combination of all those stories. But there are people who swear that the game existed and that they did play it and that it affected their minds or gave them nightmares.
Maybe it's a Mandela effect.
I don't know. But the thing is, I was around in those days going to arcades in the early 80s, and the idea that they were going in and looking at names and stuff. I mean, you could maybe put your initials in there if it was like a state of the art.
Right.
You could usually put your 3 initials in there.
Right. Yeah.
There was no full name. There was no, and people said, well, maybe they had cameras recording you. And anybody who remembers what video cameras were like in 1981, they were like the size of a microwave.
Right.
You could not stick one in the machine. There was I think like people,
even like surveillance camera. Do they even have surveillance? Yeah, they would have, but they would have been
not in 1981.
No. Okay.
People, thinking about this, part of this stuff is that when you think about this, you think about it using the frame of reference of now.
Right.
You think about monitors, you think about tiny cameras and all that. And some people don't stop to think that back in 1981, you didn't have little cameras. It was huge. So people sometimes don't think about the distance between now and then because they're so used to thinking of the now.
Right.
So I just don't think it's feasible that there would have been any sort of record of who played it, or, say if they were looking at how people played it, how are they going to find these people?
Right. By their initials.
With their 3 initials, which makes absolutely no sense. But that being said, there are people that swear this happened, that this was a real thing, that there was this video game that was manipulating people's minds, causing them to forget who they were, causing them to wake up screaming.
Say that? Are there people posting about it now who claim?
Yeah, but now, like I said, there's this podcast that somebody started where...
But it's fictionalized, isn't it?
It's fictionalized, but people are going to hear that and not realize it's fictionalized. So now the thing's kind of taken a life on its own, where people are actually building arcade cabinets, the Polybius arcade cabinets. If you look online, there's like a ton of different ROMs you can download that are supposedly the Polybius game. So people have, kind of embraced this. And at this point, there's so much out there that people are creating about it, that if this was a real thing, there's no 0 point where you can get whatever it originally was.
Sure. It's become very fuzzy and...
Yeah, but people, this is one that you guys, if this interests you, type in Polybius into Google and you will go down a rabbit hole, because there's a lot about this stuff. There's a lot about Stephen Roach. There's a lot of accounts of people playing the game and supposedly remembering seeing the game in arcades. So yeah, that is my story, the story of Polybius. I have always loved this story. I like any weird urban legends about video games.
Huh.
But
I'd never heard of
so many of them are creepypastas, like the Ben Drowned. I don't know if you ever heard of that one, where somebody got, I think it was Legend of Zelda. What was the mask one? Majora's Mask? Or it might have been that, or the Ocarina of Time, whatever that's called, where somebody bought a used copy of the game, and the person who when they started it up, the person that had played it was named Ben.
Okay. And
then they started playing it, and stuff started getting really weird in the game. Like, it would play the music backwards, and things were happening in the game that weren't supposed to happen. And it turned out that the kid Ben that had played it drowned, and he was kind of taking over the game. So there's a lot of creepypastas about video games.
Have you ever, this reminds me, I saw this on Facebook, I think. Maybe it might be on the Paranormal Palaver page, where this guy is playing a video game. And it's when you can play co-op, and he has a headset on, and you can talk to other people, obviously. And this little kid keeps showing up on the game saying, I can't find my mommy. And there's
I did see
so
that.
Weird.
Yeah.
The guy gets really freaked out.
Yeah.
Because there's somebody in the room with the kid or whatever, and it just reminds me of that.
Yeah, there's a lot of scary video game creepypastas. But this was one of the first ones. And I remember when this one actually kind of came out, I remember hearing about this and being fascinated by this. Because I love...
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I love, like, the mind control stuff. I'm, like, super fascinated by MK Ultra and all that.
Right.
So
I feel like it's plausible. That's the thing.
it's totally... I mean, the government did stuff. They did MK Ultra
totally.
experiments. So we're going to have a whole episode on that. But I could see this being a thing where they wanted to create something like this to see how it would affect people's minds, and then it worked way too well, so they destroyed whatever they had.
Right.
But I still think it's just a story.
Right.
But I think it's a really, really
that just
fascinating
got blown
story.
out of proportion.
Yeah,
kind of,
but this is a rabbit hole. If you guys are interested, look up Polybius, and you'll find tons of stuff.
Cool. Yeah, that was a cool story, though.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
So that was our my favorite mini mystery
I love
episode.
stuff like that.
I hope you guys liked it.
My story will probably need more editing than Kurt's, but that's okay.
Not really.
I'm more of a commentary person. I'm not a read off a sheet of paper kind of person.
A couple people, I was telling Krista this on the ride here, that a couple people said they wish they would have got their hands on our accidentally released unedited episode. So Krista and I said, like, in one of the upcoming episodes, we're just going to not edit it. And then you guys can hear... It's not really that exciting. You're just going to hear me stumble over words and then get mad because I can't pronounce them.
Long pauses.
Probably Krista getting up to see who the hell's out in the hallway of the school making all that racket. So we'll release a unedited episode so you guys can see what it's like. There's a couple where we have used salty language or said inappropriate things, but for the most part, all you guys are missing are pauses.
Yeah. Nothing exciting.
Me going,
we'll edit this out.
Yeah,
a lot of us saying, we'll edit this out. And that's what clued people into the fact that we put the unedited version up, is there was a lot of, we'll just edit that out.
I'll just never forget that night. Because I was at work and all of a sudden I'm getting all these texts that, I think you guys released the one you weren't supposed to.
Not you guys. It was me.
Yeah. That was Krista. But that's okay. Mm-hmm. It was a bonus for our early downloaders.
We'll call it that.
So
for our Patreons.
In the very near future, we'll do an unedited episode so you guys can see what it's like.
Yeah.
So hopefully you like this. If you guys like this, we will definitely do it again. My brother Corey said he'd actually like to sit in on one of these where the three of us pick a mini mystery.
Yeah,
I kind of already have one in mind that I want to do, so I'm going to hold that one up there. This week, this is what episode was this? Our 5th?
5.
This was our 5th episode, so probably the day after you guys are listening to this, or the 2 days after, probably Tuesday. I'll probably do it Tuesday. I'm going to put up a partially covered list of our next 5 topics. I'm still coming up with how we're going to do the rules, but whoever figures out what the 5 topics are is going to get a $25 Amazon gift code that you can type into your Amazon account, and then you'll have $25 there you can use for whatever you want. So we'll probably do that this week. I know what some of the episodes are going to be, but I don't know what all of them are going to be.
Okay.
So
it'll even be a surprise to me.
Yeah. We talked about 2 of them.
I just need to know what the next one is.
You know what the next one is, because I think we talked about it on the way here.
Okay. You'll have to remind me.
I'll remind you when the mics are off.
Yeah.
So we're going to do that this week. So whoever gets them right first, $25 for you. It's not bad.
No, I love Amazon.
I do too.
Anything on Amazon.
We've talked about this that 2 years ago or whatever, I got like hardcore into the survey sites and Ibotta and stuff like that. And within a year, I had $1,000 saved up.
Wow. I just started Ibotta.
I love Ibotta.
That's pretty cool.
But I did a lot of the survey sites that I did. I mostly wanted PayPal, but a lot of the survey sites that I didn't have PayPal. So I took it in Amazon. So at one point I had like $195 in my Amazon account, and I don't buy a lot of stuff from Amazon because it gets jacked. It gets stolen out of our hallways in my apartment complex for starters.
That sucks, yeah.
But I just don't buy a lot of stuff online. So I usually use it for downloading music. But even then, there wasn't that much I wanted. So I think I still have like $100 sitting in there that I don't.
I'd buy books or something.
Yeah, just for your Kindle or
no books. I'm a I want to hold on to a book.
I
And
am too.
smell the
I can't do
pages
Kindle.
and-
I've tried.
I love the smell of books.
Yep.
Like, I'm not a Kindle person.
No.
I have an app on my phone. I've hardly used it.
I have a Kindle app too. I use it for some of my friends have published stuff that I use it for, but I've tried like Stephen King books and stuff, and I'm like, no, I have to actually physically
like to hold it.
Yeah. I don't know.
I
if
like
I'm just
seeing that
old-fashioned.
bookmark of how far you are. No, I'm totally old fashioned. I like libraries. I'm a book person.
I like, smearing up the page with whatever I'm eating at the time.
Are you a dog ear?
No.
No, me neither.
No, and I'm not a
Bookmark all the
bookmarker.
way.
I know where I end.
Really?
I always I always stop at the end of a chapter.
Yeah. I like Stephen King too. His chapters are super short.
Yeah,
They'll be like a page.
They are.
So if you're really tired, you're like, oh, one more chapter.
Yep.
Means you might just have a page to go.
And I love Stephen King's short story books.
Me too.
I really
the
like
collections.
those. But then on the other hand, I like The Dark Tower, which was 7 huge books.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, got a little off track there. Got a little off track there. But hey, the episode actually went shorter than I thought. I was worried that we were going to actually be like way longer than an hour and a half.
Nope, we're just over an hour.
The Polybius stuff, I don't know if I could have really gone much more into it.
Unless you found stories of people who really played the game or claimed they did. But how do you substantiate that?
I don't know. I still think it's fascinating.
It is totally.
So there were your mysteries.
Yeah,
plane crash and
is,
a plane crash and a mind controlling video game.
Yeah,
So
couldn't be more different.
More different. So let us know what you think. We will probably do this again in the near future. We always talked about coming here and doing a short episode to release when it snowed, but we didn't really have any problem with the snow.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Knock on wood.
Yeah, it's
only March.
It's only March
in Wisconsin.
Yeah, we could be snowbound here one night. You never know.
Right.
So let us know what you think. As always, thank you so much for listening. Do you have anything else, Krista?
Nope.
Nothing?
Nothing.
It's weird getting done recording when it's still light outside.
No, I love it. I'm going to get home and it's going to be light outside.
Yeah. But my sleep is still a little screwed up from the whole daylight savings time thing, which I wish they would just get rid of because I don't like it.
Yeah, I don't really get it either.
No, but that's an episode for another time.
Yeah.
So,
on that note,
I was going to say something else and I totally forgot what it was.
You lost it? Must
I
have
lost
been a
it.
lie.
I lost it.
It was a lie.
It probably was a lie. Ooh, I still have soda left. I really like the soda.
It's pretty good.
Oh my God, yeah. It's like drinking a peanut butter jelly sandwich. So, from Krista and I, until next time, stay strange.
This has been an Old School Media production, executive produced by Kurt Konechny. For more information and content, please visit strangesessions.com.